o'clock.
People miss the turn, so they're not yet home people, so they'll be here shortly.
Okay, so we're going to wait a few minutes? Okay, I'm sorry, we're going to wait just a few minutes then, I'm sorry.
Oh man, Don. Where I'm at here. Oh man, did I messed it up? All right. Oh, where we at? Ah, okay.
The recipe for great food is simple. Make it fresh. Wings to go in Greenville, where every order is a custom order made with fresh ingredients. Wings to go, 7818 Wesley Street in Greenville. Simply great wings.
Need a part for the right price? Look for that red and blue sign. Henley Auto Supply at 1510 Stonewall. Over 800,000 CarQuest parts to choose from. Domestic, European, and Asian parts. Henley Auto Supply at 903-455-1969. Henley Auto Supply has the right parts to keep your vehicle running and backed by the best hometown service. Henley Auto Supply. Great people, great products, great prices. Henley Auto Supply and CarQuest.
Okay, we'll call this meeting to order, and I'd like to ask the Sons of American Revolution to please, the color guard, to please advance the colors, if you will, please. And I'd like to ask Pastor Brent Grisham, First Assembly of God Church, to give the invocation, please.
Amen. Let's bow for prayer. Lord, we thank you for this day that you have made, and we rejoice and we are glad in it. We thank you for this city, and we pray that your blessings would be upon this city. I thank you for our first responders, all those that help protect the citizens of this city. I pray that your hand of protection would be upon all of them. I thank you for our city council and the job that they are doing in our city. I pray that you would give them wisdom as they make decisions on how to lead our city and direct us. I pray, oh God, that everything that they do would glorify you. I pray that your perfect will would be accomplished in this meeting today.
Yes.
I pray, Lord, that you would lead us and guide us all, and that our attitude and actions would please you. And we give you praise and glory in the name of Jesus. Amen.
Amen. Thank you. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you very much. Please be seated. The next item on the agenda is the oath of Judge Kelly Aiken will administer the oath of office to Terry Thomas of Place 1.
Amen.
So they told me yesterday that I got to swear Mr. Thomas in. And I was in court when Judge Stovall came to tell me I had just finished a jury selection where we had all been talking about how much we love and appreciate Greenville, the city of Greenville, our county of Hunt County, the citizens in it. And I had 100 jurors sitting there waiting for the opportunity to serve their community. All of them willing to be inconvenienced, all of them willing to sacrifice their time and energy, all of them willing to go through the emotional difficulty of being in a trial. And I'd sat and watched that happen all morning. We had just finished, and in comes Judge Stovall. And he said, Judge, I have an opportunity for you if you'd like to come and swear in Mr. Thomas. And I jumped at the chance, no hesitation whatsoever. After spending an entire morning with 100 of your citizens who love your city, they love our county, and they were willing to do whatever they could to step forward in service. It just made me appreciate even more your willingness to step forward in this capacity, to serve and sacrifice with your family, your time that you give to the community, the time that you're going to give to this council, your wisdom, your wonderful sense of humor, the joy that you bring to what you do, and the servant's heart that you have for our community. What a blessing and glory to God it is to be able to have this privilege to be here with you today. Would you raise your right hand, sir? Repeat after me. I, Terry Thomas, do solemnly swear or affirm that I will faithfully execute the duties of the office of City Council Member, Place 1, for the City of Greenville, and will, to the best of my ability, preserve, protect, and defend the Constitution and laws of the United States and of this state. So help me God.
God.
Thank you, sir.
All right. Yeah.
Sir.
Thank you.
Very much.
Do I get to say a word, Mayor?
Sure.
I'm tired of campaigning. I'm ready to go to work. Thank you all very much.
We welcome you.
Thank you. Now I'd like to invite Mr. Greer here again, Sons of the American Revolution. He's going to present, he's got some certificates to present to the city manager. And do you want to do it there at the podium, Mr. Greer? Would you like to do it up there at the podium? Okay. Go ahead.
City manager. The city manager. I'm John Grove with the Sons of the American Revolution. One of the things that we do is we go around and look and see when the flags are being flown correctly. And when we do find that they're flown correctly, we present a certificate that is the flag certificate. And we'd like to present this to the city of Greenville. So you can hang it on the wall or put it on the corner.
Thank you. Now I'd like to ask Mayor Dreiling to come forward. I have a presentation for you, and I'd like to introduce you if I could, if you don't mind. You know who I am, right? Yeah. Had the pleasure of serving with Dave for the last 6 years as mayor. I can't think of probably anybody that served the public sector of our community the last 10 years more than Mayor Dreiling. He served for 6 years, 2 full terms on the Juice Board where he was president. During that time, he also served 2 terms on the Texas Municipal Power Agency, and subsequently he was mayor for the past 6 years. And before that, he was lieutenant commander in the Navy. He had over 5,000 operational hours and 100 combat mission hours in Vietnam. I don't know how many people knew that. He earned a BS in electrical engineering from a very prestigious engineering school, Purdue University, and subsequently he earned a master's degree from in electronic weapons system technology from the Naval Postgraduate School. In addition to that, he has an MBA from Salvia Regina University in Newark, Rhode Island. And I think I got the Newark right. I'm not sure about the rest of it. Yeah. And the only other thing I'll say is he was very deceptive. I knew he worked hard, but I didn't know how hard he worked. And I'm getting a full taste of what you did the past 6 years. We all owe you a debt of gratitude.
It's only 2 nights a month.
Well, no. So anyway, and I think they have a plaque here to give you.
The Ambassador Fletcher Warren, in recognition of the highest ideals of character and citizenship, we would like to present you the Bronze Good Citizenship.
Thank you.
And a certificate that goes along with it.
Thank you.
Would you like to say anything? Huh? Yeah, there's a mic there. You probably get that if you'd like to. I don't know if I can get it out there or not. There you go.
It's been an honor, and I appreciate it, and I welcome Mr. Thomas there in his efforts. But it's been a pleasure working with the city and trying to get things going, and I have all the confidence in the current city council and especially the mayor that we're going to continue to see the city grow and grow beyond what expectations that most of us have. Thank you very much.
You bet. Thank you, Mayor. Okay. Okay, the next item on the agenda, I want to just mention this. In your agenda, if you have an agenda, there is a notice regarding citizens to be heard to speak on items that are not on the agenda. So if you'd like to speak tonight about that, please sign a card and bring it up to the city secretary. In addition, there's a notice for public testimony, which applies to all items past item 7 on the agenda. So if you'd like to speak on any of those items, please note that and submit your card to the city secretary. Are there any citizens to be heard?
John Kelso.
John Kelso, 6005 Horn Drive, Greenville, 75402. First, welcome to the newest councilman, Mr. Thomas.
Thanks, John.
Welcome. Good luck.
Thank you.
Have you ever noticed some of the streets have areas where asphalt has been cut out and filled back in with loose gravel, loose asphalt, backfill? Many times this has to do with water repairs in the streets. A couple of months ago, I had a conversation with a couple of city employees who work for the street department, and they said, back many years ago, the water department would have to cut the street to do a repair. The water department would repair the street, and then just a few years back, the decision was made that they don't have the expertise, so when they cut the road up for water repair, the street department comes back and repairs it. Well, we know the street department doesn't have enough financial doesn't have enough money to fix, what we've got already, just keeping up with potholes and whatnot. So we know they're underfunded, right? So some of these repairs don't happen for years. I mean, I can give you an example of 4 years where Trago Lane's been cut across and never repaired back. And I got to wondering, is it because, okay, maybe the water department tears up a street to do a well-needed repair, and then the street department have at it, but there's no money to have at it and fix it. It just doesn't seem fair that the water department should be allowed to tear something up and the repair not come out of their budget. Now, I don't know if this is true or not. You guys have to figure that out. But if it is true, it just doesn't seem right. Now, I agree, they don't have the expertise necessarily. That's up to the street department. But why should the street department have to spend their money fixing streets that the water department tore up? Seems like, in all fairness, that repair should be part of the water repair. The street repair should be part of the water repair and charged to the water department, built into the, we charge citizens for their water and sewer, and it's based on how much it costs to provide water and sewer. And I assume that part of the cost built into those bills everybody pays is repairing water breaks when they happen. Well, built into that cost should also be repairing the street that you have to tear up to do that water repair. Not the street department. The people that you're providing the water service for should pay for that. Put that on an agenda item and you can discuss it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Kelso.
Betty Franklin.
Good afternoon. Betty Franklin, 1811 King Street. I know we coming up on, City Council is coming up on budget time. And I was here a couple of years ago, I think it was 2019, and I appreciate what you did. We had a problem with the public safety building on Wesley Street, and we discussed the mold and asbestos in the building. And the council voted, and you tore down the building. I appreciate that. Now the building remains empty. There's just a vacant lot there, nothing there. People are crowding on that lot at times. And it's a nice place. It can be redeveloped if we look at it. And I just want to ask you to please do not forget to include it in the budget when we do the next year's budget, because it can be developed into something really nice. Because I am really afraid there will be a lot of traffic there. We'll have homeless population in the summer. I'm really afraid that this is going to be a hangout. And we just don't want that. We're really trying to improve our neighborhood. And yeah, we have developers coming to town. They really they building nice houses. And the street, we won't talk about the street, but they're building nice houses, and we're really proud of what's going on. We want to keep that motion going, so we want to ask you, please, do not forget. And the other thing I've discussed before time and time again, East Mound Cemetery. As the Greenville grow, there's no place for the final resting places of so many people here. And East Mound Cemetery, you said it was in the budget, and you're going to look at it for expansion and do some things there. And we know we can't use all that land. We can use some of it. But a lot of people keep asking me, when will Greenville work on East Mound Cemetery? And I know, Summer, it was discussed, City Manager, I know it was discussed. Please, please do not forget us. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Franklin.
Reginald Kitchen.
Reginald Kitchen, 1403 Glendale, Greenville, Texas. My concern is the city lakes. I was wondering if there's anybody we could talk to about possibly opening it up at some point in time. You know, if we have to go to a card system or something, but I feel like we're being punished for something we didn't do. I talked to a guy the other day that drove down here from Roy City, bought 3 dozen of minnows, and he couldn't fish. Other people's coming and turning around, older people coming and turning around because they can't fish. And the gate is like right there. You can't go past it. And nobody really wants to walk that far to get to their favorite spot. I understand we're trying to protect the water system, but I don't think blocking the lakes off is going to stop anything if they really want to do it. We just would like to be able to fish at our spots, not cause any problems, not tear up anything, just fish. If they put a gate or a railing around the water, not the actual roadway, that would help too. We could still get to our spots. I mean, stepping over that wouldn't be as bad as stepping over a gate and then having to walk. What if something happens to a person that walked around there? Paramedics, police still have to get out and unlock the gate to get around there. By then, something could have happened to them. Every second counts. We just want to be able to fish and enjoy ourselves and take our kids out there to relax and have fun. But we can't do that because we're forced to be in one spot. That's all I have.
Thank you.
Willie Jimerson.
Willie Jimerson, 4015 Katy Drive. I too come to speak about the parks. You know, me and my son, we just came from the park. We planned to go fishing, but as we got there, I see what everybody was talking about. We can't get there. You know, I bought a boat just for me and my son to fish and enjoy our time together, but that's being taken away. Yeah, we can walk around there, but so like the other guy said, it's pretty far a walk. And then what if something happened? How can paramedics get out there? It's almost impossible. You know, and by the time they get there, it's if he fall and hit his head on a rock, I mean, it's limited, you know. So I just don't understand the process of blocking off the way to get through there. Sometimes it's time that families come together and they like to spend about the lakes. My kids used to sit in the back of the truck. We pop up a canopy. They sit up there, they drink their juices, eat their candy, they play, wait for something to bite their poles. It's kind of hard to do that now. Actually, we can't do that now because we can't get to it. That shouldn't be. There's a lot of kids out here running around that has nothing to do. And the one thing that they can do with grandparents, fathers, brothers, and sisters is being taken away. That should not be. This is Greenville. Greenville should have it. Other places come to Greenville for this. It's building, it's growing. People's gonna want to fish. I shouldn't have to drive way out to Lake Tawakoni or out of town to Lake Fork or to Ray Hubbard just to fish, and I got one right here in my own community. That's what we pay taxes for. I should be able to do that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Robinette Bannister.
Hello again, everybody. Robinette Bannister, 6920 Sell Street. I live in Place 1 here in Greenville, over on Sell Street. Want to thank Chief Police and everybody for their attention to the racing that was going up and down Sell Street. Seems to have slowed down. I don't know if it's because enforcement or because there's more road construction, which leads to me to thank you for putting money into the streets and to the infrastructure. Which leads me to my third point. Friday night, I was sitting in my car listening to a podcast, and while I was sitting there, 3 young men walking down southbound Sell Street pull out 3 guns, and they start shooting at the street lights. That street light in front of my house has not worked. I have called in multiple times. It still has not been fixed. After I see this, you know, not knowing what kind of guns they are, I call the police, have them come out. These kids look like they're in their late teens, early 20s possibly. They meet up with 2 other guys walking northbound on Sell Street. Concerns me very much because then I start paying attention to how many street lights on Sale Street are actually out. Are they out because of maintenance? Are they out because they're being shot at? Are they being shot at in preparation for our houses to be burglarized? Because there are, the next night, whenever the sun went down, I videoed, and if you care to see the video, I have it with me on my phone. I drove northbound on Sale Street with no traffic coming to see how dark it was. I keep my lights on at my house 24 hours a day, front and back, because people come behind our houses where there is no, it's just back of our houses that back up to the park. Constantly, people coming back there, they have no business back there. There's a perfectly good sidewalk that we paid good money for in front of our houses. These guys were not walking on the sidewalk because there are video cameras up and down because we have problems on our street. Did call the police, they did show up. Police didn't even get out of the car. They pulled up, let their window down, and just kept driving, didn't spend any time. Probably, if you will call and ask, what were these kids' names? Where were they coming from? Because when I called, the kids went into the apartment complex. To keep them from being able to get away, I drove through the apartment complex, and they were all sitting in a car that was sitting there running. It looks nefarious to me. I don't want to come home to my house being burglarized. I don't want to be asleep in my bed and have somebody breaking into my house. Those streetlights have got to get fixed. I'll let the apartment complex know as well, but there's so much more that we need to spend our money on than kids shooting out streetlights and pushing down signs. I would love to see this go to the city parks, the cemetery, wherever it needs to go, but this is not a worthy way of use of money. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Joyce Dryling.
Joyce Dryling, 6404 Buena Vista Drive, Greenville, Texas. Somebody mentioned earlier water main break. Yes, we've had a lot of those. The city comes, they fill it in after they fix the water main. They fill it in with dirt. I would like to make sure the employees know that we appreciate them paving over weeks later. We've got one right there on Lang that for weeks it's been tearing up, and earlier this week they fixed it. I would also like the city employees to know that we appreciate whoever called and made phone calls about the railroad cars that were down off Sockwell. Got taken care of, and to me it was reasonable. It was less than 3 weeks. But we just want to make sure that the city employees know that we do see what they're doing and we appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you.
No more.
There are no more citizens, so we'll move to item 6A, consideration and action of an ordinance authorizing the fiscal 2021 budget amendment, a budget amendment to the 2020-2021 budget to increase revenue projections in the water wastewater fund. Press, you.
Good evening. Yes, sir. What this is about is we have got the money coming in for the water meters that Juice collects for us. And so we have to increase the revenue side of this account to account for all the new meters that are being paid for so we can actually buy more meters that we need. As I said earlier in my presentation, we are going through meters like crazy right now. So this is the way we have to do the budget amendment to ask for more money on the revenue side so we can use it on the expenditure side. And this is what this budget amendment is for.
Are there any questions for? Okay, I'll open the public hearing. I'd like to ask anyone to come forward that speaks in opposition to this ordinance. If there is nobody in opposition, is there anybody that approves of this or would like to speak in approval of this? Mr. Kelso.
John Kelso, 6005 Horn Drive, Greenville, 75402. I approve this, but I do have some questions, and I know it doesn't do any good for me to ask you questions. You don't answer, the administration won't answer our questions. I get it, but these are questions you guys should be asking. And so I hope someone will ask this question. The idea is to cover the cost of new meters and water meter and sewer taps. So back to what I was saying earlier, sometimes when you add a water meter tap, you have to tear up a street to do it, or a sewer tap, you got to tear up a street to do it. Is this $850,000, will it cover the cost of repairing that road if you have to tear it up to install that tap? It should. Otherwise, you're not covering the cost of the water meters, which is what this is supposed to do. This is supposed to cover the cost of water taps and sewer taps. And if it's not covering the cost of repairing things you tear up to do that, it's not covering the cost. So the question you ought to ask is, well, how many water taps and sewer taps did you put in infill housing last year that required tearing up the street, and what was the cost of repairing those streets if they have indeed been repaired? And whatever that cost is, have they projected that forward to make sure that this $850,000 will cover the full cost of installing those taps? They're saying it's 600 new ones and 107 new infill ones. Has the research been done to ensure that $850,000 will cover all that? Now, when you guys approved this budget change to add $850,000 of revenue to the budget, you need to make sure that when you're doing an approval for budget increases, that the increase you're approving will take care of all the stuff that you're hoping it'll take care of. So just a question. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any more public testimony regarding this issue? If not, I'll close the public hearing. Is there any discussion with the council regarding this issue? Any questions or anything? What is the pleasure of the council regarding this issue?
I'll move to approve.
Okay. Is there a second?
A second.
Second. All in favor? Please vote.
I'm good. There you go.
And it passes unanimously. The next item on the agenda is item 7A, ordinance authorizing the donation of a Colt Python pistol to the police department's annual awards banquet. William Cole, Acting Police Chief. Mr. Cole.
Thank you, Mayor. Mayor and Council, what I look at is a pretty simple thing. We had an unlawful carrying of a weapon charge in August 22 of 2004. Jim was taken into custody. When we seize property, a person has 60 days from the date of the disposition of the trial to recover that property. This Colt Python is a collector's item, and this person never showed up. It's been 17 years. I did some checking, discovered that the individual that was in possession of the weapon has been found guilty of capital murder in Dallas County. He's not eligible for parole until 2045. Had some conversations. The Drug Enforcement Administration that received the case never filed it. There's no paperwork or anything that would attach to this. Went before the city judge, explained the situation. The city judge was fine with awarding the pistol to the city. The other option was that we would cut it up because it had been in property for so long, and that would be a shame. So my mission was to do something with the value of the pistol that would aid somebody, and this was the message I delivered to the city manager. She blessed the option, and we moved forward with getting the pistol awarded to the city through the city court judge. And at this time, I would ask that you pass a resolution or ordinance awarding it to our association so it could be used in our raffle to fund or assist in funding our annual awards banquet.
Okay, are there any questions for Mr. Cole? Thank you. Okay, what is the pleasure of the council regarding this issue?
I make a motion to approve.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
The motion is second. All in favor? It passes unanimously. Item 7B, consider an action on an ordinance authorizing a unit price construction project for 2021 street repair. Press.
Yes, sir. This was a contract we put out, as some of the residents said, about getting all our street repairs and utility cuts repaired at one time. I think we do have, this is one we spoke about in executive session. I think there was, I think this item is being asked to be postponed to a meeting.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
Mayor?
Yes.
If you don't mind. I move that we set a special meeting to consider this matter at 9 a.m. on June 29th, 2021, and that any action on this matter be postponed to that time, and that all responsive bidders be notified of this delay and their ability to address technical deficiencies in their bid packets between today and that meeting.
Okay, thank you. Is there a second for this motion?
I second that motion.
Okay. Motion is second. All in favor, please vote. Okay, it passes unanimously. Item 7C, you can stay right there, Press. Consideration and action on an ordinance authorizing a professional services agreement with Cobb Findlay to provide traffic count for various roads related to the $50 million street bond.
Yes, sir. Part of the analysis we did with our road assessment was to put in the traffic counts. And so we were able to get with a consulting firm that has this capability. Not only are they going to do traffic counts, they're going to do origin destination studies so we know where people are trying to go to, where they're coming from. It usually takes about 2 to 3 weeks to do the full traffic counts. They do them Tuesday through Thursday. Also, this firm has the capability. They know the factors to put into it. Since the schools are not in session right now, there are factors they can put in there to account for the school traffic in these counts. So I think it's a good thing. It's what we need in our roadway analysis to help us identify streets that this may identify something that we haven't picked up on, but it's certainly a needed part of our road assessment and our bond issue.
Okay, are there any questions for Mr. Yes?
Press, this additional origination destination study that's a component of this will help with the comprehensive plan and to update the transportation plan.
Yes, sir, it will, because it gives us the future growth, future areas that we may see that, you know, what the indicators are. We're getting a lot of traffic coming from this area going to this area. So yes, it will help in our comprehensive planning in the future.
I also have a question.
Okay.
Press, you said it's limited, the traffic study is limited to Tuesday through Thursday. Why is that?
Weekend traffic has a different pattern.
Right.
What we feel like is the normalization of people going to and from work, going to and from shopping and all. What we found out over the years is the best, most accurate count is a Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday count.
For the weekday traffic?
Right.
But wouldn't the weekend traffic also be?
It will be factored into it, but we look at those days as the primary days of where origin destination is going.
All right.
And I think you mentioned in the Transportation Committee meeting that this also will be, they'll factor that schools are not in session at this time while they're doing the traffic counts, right?
They've taken that in consideration.
Right.
They have factors they can put into it to account for the school traffic that they anticipate based upon the occupancy of the school, location of schools. They'll factor that into it.
Okay. Any other questions? Okay, what is the pleasure of the council? Oh, okay. Is there public testimony regarding this issue? Mr. Kelso.
John Kelso, 75402, Greenville, 6005 Horn Drive, Greenville, 75402. I'm going to be quoting from the public agenda here. It sounds like, obviously, this road study has two parts. Someone came in and they analyzed the deterioration of our streets, part one. Part two, we're going to count to see how many cars travel up and down those roads. Those two numbers together will decide what roads need repair first, second, third, fourth, fifth, and maybe not at all. Obviously, you haven't done part two. That's what you're doing tonight. We were absolutely led to believe before we voted on the street bond that this study would be the determining factor of what streets will be repaired, restored, and worked on. We may not have been promised that, but we were absolutely led to believe that it would not be a subjective, Councilman so-and-so, Mayor wants this street, and so that's what we're going to do. We think that's best. We believe. No, we were going to let the science, the analysis of these, a numerical analysis, determine what was going to be done. I specifically remember people talking about, well, we can't tell you what streets we're going to do, or you might not vote yes because that might not be the street you want. I absolutely had councilmen, at least one councilman, tell me very specifically, yes, this analysis will be exactly what determines what streets will be done. Now, I read on here, it says, this will help in the determination of the ranking of streets being considered. That raises my eyebrows. This should not help. This analysis is what is supposed to determine what streets we're going to look at. Not help. This is the analysis that will be done to figure out what streets we're going to do. That's what we were led to believe. Thank you.
Is there any more public testimony? Okay. Is there any comment from the council? I can just say that I've served on the Transportation Committee, and traffic count was always a part of this study. It always was for those of us that served on the committee. If two streets were of equal condition, then obviously we're going to fix and repair the street that has the most traffic. And that was always part and parcel of this. So there are two parts of this. It was always part of our study, always part of everything we recommended. So having said that, what is the pleasure of the council?
Mayor, if you would, I'd like to comment too.
Okay.
I haven't been on the traffic subcommittee before, but I can imagine that there's still a subjective judgment component of this, no matter what the evidence says. Right. Data is data. Data doesn't make decisions. Real people who have budgets and street machinery and personnel and priorities and all of those things make decisions. Evidence will inform it, of course, but someone still has to make a decision. Evidence does not make decisions for you. That's all.
Okay. Point. Thank you. Are there any other comments? Council. Okay. What is the pleasure of the council regarding this issue? Pardon me?
We're making the motion, correct?
Very good.
Thank you. I make a motion to approve.
Okay. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay. A second. All in favor? Motion a second. Please vote. Okay. Item 7D, considering and action on an ordinance authorizing a professional engineering agreement with various engineering firms to provide professional engineering services related to the 2021 $50 million street bond project. Press?
Yes, sir. What this is we talked about this in the Transportation Committee and before with the volume of work that we're predicting to do. There's several major collector roads that need engineering work done. And we've got I think we have 5 or 6 consultants on board to do this work. Every one of them is guaranteed they will have their work and design work done within a 6-month period. That would allow us a year and a half to have these roads, whichever ones we choose, be constructed. And so what we're asking tonight is the approval to move forward with these engineering contracts so we can have these roads ready to go within 6 months. So when we spend, because we have 2 years to spend this bond money, this will get the major roads that we need, most of our collector roads, to the point that we can get them constructed. So that is the request here tonight.
Are there any questions? Yes.
Fresh, just to be clear, the paver data, the initial paver data, has indicated, regardless of traffic count or any other factors, that these roads are in such a state that the traffic counts wouldn't matter in their selection for repair, correct?
We have identified quite a few roads of that. I mean, the paver analysis is based on 0 to 100, 100 being a brand new road. We have roads which we've already identified that are in the 20s, in the 30s. Normal PCI, which is what pavers gives you a pavement condition index, you want to keep your PCI in the 65 to 70 range. We're down in the 20 range. We know those roads are completely gone. It doesn't matter if we have 10 cars on them, 100 cars on them, they're still shot. So we have done that analysis. But there's other roads that are on the borderline that we need these traffic counts for.
Right. Okay. And also one other question real quick, if you don't mind. The engineering for Traders Road is just put in this to get a better price for that engineering, even though it's a separate entity based on other actions we took?
Yes, sir. Based upon the settlement of the lawsuit and all, we've identified areas that need to be re-engineered for Traders Road, and this is what that is for. It's really not part of the bond issue, but we do need to get started on Traders Road so we can get that corrected, and we needed engineering done on that also.
Okay, thank you.
Are there any other questions? Chris? Okay, I'll open for public testimony.
John Kelso, 6005 Horn Drive, Greenville, 75402. Mr. Mayor, you misunderstood me. I was trying to say exactly what you said. The analysis was 2 parts. Road condition number, traffic count number, put together would drive what streets are we going to do. That's
well, then
what
I
was trying
apologize
say.
to you. I think you were having a problem with the word
Yeah,
help, right?
So now my question is, here's 7 roads right here that have already been predetermined without any analysis, without full analysis, because we know you hadn't counted any traffic on these. You just voted on that a minute ago. So my question is, what criteria was used to these 7? Where's Templeton Street? Okay, now, question was asked, these roads have been determined that it doesn't matter about the traffic count, that we're going to do them anyway. I'll bet you there's more than these 7 that the road condition was so horrible it wouldn't matter on the traffic count either, Templeton Street. So somebody flowed these 7 up to the top. Do you know what criteria was used? And what was it? We would like to know. We would like transparency. Now, the answer might be, well, yeah, I know what it was because I asked the administration right before this meeting, asked them yesterday. This was presented in the subcommittee, and so we know the answer. Unacceptable. Just because you heard about it in a subcommittee that was not open to the public because public wasn't told where or when you were going to meet, that's not transparent. That's not open. So you say, well, we talked about it in the subcommittee. It was an open meeting. Well, not really. Unacceptable. This is the light of day right here, tonight, right here in the public. This is where it should be discussed and talked about. So I hope someone, obviously, me asking questions means nothing. You proved that a couple of items ago. Why doesn't someone ask, what was the criteria for these 7, and were there any others, like Mr. Adkins pointed out, that maybe fell in the same category of they're so horrible, it doesn't matter the traffic count, so we don't care. What others were those, and why did these 7 make the list and not some of those others? Templeton. Okay, I just wish someone would ask so that the public would know and not just you guys knowing. Thank you.
Is there any additional public testimony? Mr. Park?
I'm Paul Park, 207 Patterson Drive in Greenville. I agree with what Mr. Kelso just said. These streets may very well make the list of what needs to be done, but the perception right now is my perception, speaking for myself. This decision's already been made without collecting all the data that you need. And Mr. Collins, I wish that Judge Kelly was still here, because I think she would tell you that evidence makes decisions. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there any other public testimony?
Wayne Morris, 5600 Vale Street, Greenville. Just going to tag on to this. When the bond issue was being discussed before it went to a vote, there was a lot of people that were very iffy, myself included, about this. We needed the streets desperately. We still do. And it was gut versus head decision for me. I voted in favor of it, but praying that this whole process would be above board. Haver data would be made public. The selection criteria would be made public, because there is no other way to get this done. As comments were made earlier, a lot of people, hey, if my street's not on, I'm not going to vote for it. But I can tell you one thing, just from talking to people in my neighborhood and other things, there are a lot of people watching this process, and I can promise you, if this is not done strictly above board, in the light of day, with more transparency than you have in a Windex factory, the citizens of this town will never vote another street bond. So let's do away with the artificial priorities that might pop up and anything else like that. I understand that the feeder roads have priority and things of that nature, but to the best of the ability, make the streets public, make the hearings open to the public, put the minutes out there. Let's keep it honest and above board, and for the majority of citizens that voted for this, let's make sure they have the confidence that they made the right decision. Thank you very much.
Is there any additional public testimony? If not, what is the pleasure of the council regarding this issue? Is there any discussion regarding this issue of the council? What is the pleasure of the council regarding this item?
Move to approve.
Is there a second? Second. All motion been made and seconded. All vote, please. Passes unanimously. Item 7E, consideration and action on an ordinance authorizing a professional services contract renewal with Gabton Group, Inc. for services in the field of government and public affairs, including grant programs administered by the federal government. Press.
Yes, sir. The Gabaton Group, as you know, I've worked with them for many, many years, and his contract is up for renewal. And I just want to let you know that as I tell people, the wheels of government move very slow, federal government moves slower. But we were able to secure, we're working with the Corps of Engineers. They allocated almost $250,000 to redo our Long Branch flood study, which they are still working on. We're in contact with them. A lot of the Corps, federal government, are not back in their offices yet. They're still working from home, which has slowed the process down. But that was able to get $250,000 of federal money to help us hopefully get some of our commercial properties out of the flood zone. So that's one of the big things we've been working on. We've been working with the FAA, trying to secure airport money. We've been working very closely with Senator Cruz's office on this. Looks like there's a good possibility we may get some money. And as of this morning, we got a response from Representative Fallon's office trying to get one of our projects put on their list. They didn't put any projects on their list, and they're having a meeting to see if they can do what used to be an old earmark type thing for one of the projects here in Greenville. So I would say Josh is working as hard as he can work with the circumstances in Washington. It's pretty much a ghost town right now, but I feel very confident he's done us a very good job, and I'd like to continue to have him on our side helping us with the federal bureaucracy. That's an animal all in itself, trying to understand how Washington thinks and what they do. So I would definitely recommend extending his contract.
And I have a question. This is the same annual contract as this is just a renewal. There's no increase in the price
No
of this
increase in
contract.
price. Yeah, just renewal.
And do they contact you and the city staff to determine what some of our needs are? Is that on a regular basis or quarterly, or how often? Are we in correspondence with them on a regular basis?
Yes, sir. Usually we get a monthly report from him on what's available, what he's working on, what things are looking like, what's the temperature going on. And so I think he keeps us very well informed. And I talk to him a good bit on, like I said, on the core project and other projects that we're working on.
So they're very well aware of our needs?
Yes, sir, very much.
Not just what's available, what we need.
We've told him, we give him constantly what our needs are, what we're looking for. Excuse me. We're still desperately trying to get money for our radio system. So he's very much aware of everything we're going after and he finds stuff. He said, hey, let's go after this, or send me a letter to so-and-so and see if we can get them to sponsor us. So I think he's done us a very good job on that.
And tell us again, what did he find for us this past year?
$250,000 to the Corps for a Long Branch study.
Okay. Are there any other questions before I open the public testimony? Yes, Mr. Atkins.
President, I appreciate the accomplishments that were included in the packet, but they are just focused on the federal level, correct?
That is correct.
Are we pursuing anybody to look at the state level or through Council of Governments or anything of that nature as far as pursuing any state level or lower available grants? Maybe Summer could answer that question better.
Like an individual person that we're looking at?
Are we pursuing state level or
Yes.
COG grants or anything?
Yeah, anything
by
that
our
comes up.
staff or
by
we,
our staff, yeah,
okay.
mostly. We don't have one person that we go to for the state.
I didn't know if we were.
It's mainly our staff that
there was some
handles
kind of
each one of
specialist
those.
like this.
Yeah,
gentleman.
no.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Yes.
Yeah, I had a question. So I noticed in the packet that there's a bullet point here about the floodplains.
Yes, sir.
And it just says it's a federal request that's ongoing. I wondered if you might have any more detail.
Last time we talked to the Corps, they're trying to wind up their study. If you want me to, I'll give you a little bit of history of it. When the original floodplain maps came out, I believe in, I want to say 81, all of Long Branch was within the canal banks. All the floodplain was within the banks. Later on, they revised the flood map, and all of a sudden the floodplain went out of the banks of the branch, inundating a lot of property that we don't allow building within a floodplain unless you do some special considerations, which are very costly to do. But we started looking at it and we said, historically, Long Branch has never really left its banks. Even during the major storm events, it stayed within its banks. So what we've said was the original design memorandum of 1974 stated that it was designed for the 50-year, the 100-year, and the 150-year storm. The flood maps are based upon the 100-year storm. So we started really looking at this and getting with the Corps and FEMA and say, hey, there's obviously a mapping error on this because the data doesn't support where the floodplain is. And so that's what they've been doing, is spending federal dollars to try to get this corrected. And like I said, they're still working out of their houses, so things are moving slowly, but they are moving. I talked to the Corps probably less than about a month ago, and they are still working on this.
Do you know when they started on it?
Oh, we started over this over a year ago.
Okay. And do you have any expectation for when it might get resolved?
We're hoping maybe this year we can get, once Washington kind of gets back in the sync, gets back in their offices and gets moving again, I think we can get some more action out of it. But we are dealing with the Corps out of Washington, headquarters district in Washington. They immediately contacted the Fort Worth district, and they called us immediately saying, what can we do to help you? And it was all because of the contacts that we had with the Corps over many years.
Thanks, Press.
Okay.
Any other questions? Yes.
Can you hear me okay? Yeah, I hear it now. Press, I noticed in my homework assignment that Ted Cruz's office suggested that we approach L3 for agreement and funding and part of this. Do you think there's any chance that L3 would jump into that?
We have talked to them about this. They're all on board
You have
with
approached
us.
them?
They're fully supportive of what we're doing. In fact, they gave us a plan of what the progression of what the airport's looking for, what they're going to do in their future expansions and all. So yeah, L3 is fully on board with what we're doing.
Good, thank you. Thanks.
Any other questions? Okay, I'll open this item for public testimony. Is there any public testimony? Okay, since there is none, what is the pleasure of the council regarding item 7E?
I'll make a motion that we retain Gabaton Group for the services contract.
Okay, is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay, motion to second. All vote, please. Jump right in. And it. Yeah.
There you go.
It passes unanimously.
Only took 30 pushes.
Okay. The next item is item 7F, consideration and action on an ordinance authorizing an agreement with FSTI. Mr. Ray.
All right, FSTI is a chemical manufacturing company that's just outside the city limits. What this agreement would do would allow the city to collect a payment in lieu of taxation fee equal to the amount of taxes that this company would pay if we annex them into the city. There's a lot of reasons we don't want to annex them into the city and a lot of reasons they don't want to be annexed, but one of the few automatic annexation authorities that the legislature left in place over the past couple of sessions was industrial areas like this. So because it touches the city limits on the northwest corner of the city out on 380, if the city wanted to, it could annex this property and require them to pay, obviously, city taxes. We don't want to annex the property because it's a chemical plant and there could be, 50 years from now, cleanup issues related to that. We have no evidence that this company has any sort of issues related to chemical effluents or putting anything on the ground, but this agreement allows us to collect the same amount of taxes that we would if we annex that property, and in exchange we continue offering them water and sewer at the same rates and at the same both the rate of flow to and from the facility, but also the rate of financial collections. And what we have to do in response, or I guess in consideration of them paying that amount of money to us, is that we provide the same services out there as we do elsewhere in the city. And so we provide police and fire protection to this location, partially in exchange for them paying the pilot agreement to us. This is very similar to other pilot agreements that we have, and it is not very different from what has been voted on several times in the recent past. This is a 10-year total agreement. It's 2 5-year terms. And if it's passed tonight, it's going to be retroactive for about 18 months because we've been negotiating several parts of this for a while. But it will go for 3.5 years after tonight, and then can potentially go 5 more years after that. So I can answer any questions or get into any details that you have questions about as far as the agreement itself.
Are there any questions for Mr. Ray? Ben, did you have a question? Did you raise your hand? Oh, I'm sorry. Any questions? Okay, I'll open this for public testimony. Since there's no public testimony, what is the pleasure of the council?
I'd like to make a motion to approve.
Okay, there's a motion. There's a second. Please vote. Mine won't do it either.
I need new batteries.
Point at Ms. Carroll.
Doing nothing. Let's have a week back.
Hey. And it, believe it passes unanimously. It passes unanimously. So thank you. Item resolutions. Item 8A, consideration and an action on a resolution electing a mayor pro tem to the city council. Is there a motion?
I'd like to make a motion to vote Al as pro tem. To vote Al as pro tem.
Okay. You're nominating Al Atkins.
Yes,
is that
I am.
right? Okay.
And
Is there a second?
I would second that motion.
Okay, there's a motion and a second. Please vote.
Point that way.
Oh, really, that one?
Me too, Mr. Freeman. I don't know.
Point at Ms. Carroll.
It's your turn.
Oh,
Yeah, am I cheating?
Okay.
Congratulations.
And it passes unanimously. Congratulations, Mr. Atkins, Mayor Pro Tem. Item 8B, consideration and action on a resolution appointing city council subcommittees. And I'd like to just comment on this. If you have those, several of you contacted me and expressed an interest on the positions, on the committees you'd like to serve on. I attempted to put you on those committees. And the other thing I did is I tried to make sure that each council member would chair one of these committees. So they're certainly subject to negotiation tonight. If you have something, some other committee you'd like to change or swap with or whatever, I'm certainly open to entertaining any of that. Or if I overlook one of your requests, we'll certainly correct that also. So I'll give you a minute to look at those. I guess you already have. But and we have vacancies on some of these commissions so we'll be contacting, the city secretary will be contacting you soon to set up meetings to fill some of these appointments. Are there any changes? Is there a motion to accept these then?
I'll move to approve the appointments as drafted.
I second.
Motion to second, please vote.
Point at Ms. Carroll.
Okay. Motion passes unanimously. The next item on the agenda is a consent calendar. I guess there's, city secretary doesn't need to read that. The approval of the city council meeting minutes from the June 8th, 2021 meeting. Is there a motion to accept the consent calendar?
I make a motion to accept.
I'll second.
Favor? Okay, there's a motion and a second. Please vote.
Oh, waiting for me to vote. Okay. All right. I'm sorry.
And it passes unanimously. City staff and city council reports, the May financials. Ms. Wilner?
Thank you, Mayor and Council. Welcome to our new council member.
Thank you.
This will be our monthly financial report as of the end of May, at which point we are 67% through the fiscal year. General fund revenues as of the end of May came in at $21.8 million, or 84% of expected collections, which is about normal for this time of the year. Expenditures are in at 17.9, or 65% of budgeted expectations. So typically, if we're 67% through the year, you would want to see that number very close to or at 67%. That's how we do our planning, so that we track along with the progress of the year. The biggest piece of revenue at this point in the year is going to be property taxes, which is about 39% of our revenues. And then the largest portion of our expenditures is public safety, which is at about 55% of our total general fund expenditures. Just a note down here at the bottom, I'm going to continue leaving this on here just because our revenue number is a little inflated at this point of the year due to some CARES Act revenue, about $1.3 million that's included in that number. Sales tax, this is a year-to-date number through May. At this point, we are up $732,000, or 13.27% compared to year-to-date of May of the previous year. So down at the bottom, you can see the remaining sales tax to collect in order to meet our target for this year, which our target was a 3% increase over the prior year. This is showing our sales tax in comparison to our set of comparison cities, which is the City of Cleburne, City of Paris, Corsicana, and Denison. The blue bar there is showing this year, and the red bar is showing last year. So you can kind of see that this is something that it seems like all of the cities, at least in our near vicinity, is seeing, of course, as well as us. So the city portion of the current period collections was $922,000 remitted for May, which, looking at just the month, that's an increase of 38% compared to May of 2020. So these taxes are actually collected in March. And the important thing about this year in March, looking at previous year where we were at in March was right at the start of the pandemic. So that's probably part of why we're seeing such a large part of it. That's not all of it, but I would say part of it, because we're starting to now see the full circle of COVID, because now we're a year out. So this is the total collected before any payback arrangements, service fees, and also excludes the economic development portion. So this is truly what the city receives. And then just looking at the history of May sales tax, you can see that big jump there from last year and really all of the previous years before it. So like I said, maybe a little portion of it due to coming out of the pandemic, but certainly not all of it is just attributable to that. Water and sewer fund revenues through May in total are at $9.4 million, or 64% of budgeted expectations. So again, we're 67% through the year. You would want to see that tracking very closely. So I think we're right where we would want to be in water and sewer fund as well. Hotel motel occupancy. So again, we're coming now to the point where we are a full year out from the pandemic. So you can see that red line there. That's the 2019-2020 number. Where we were at, you can see that huge tank right there when we were kind of starting to get into shutdowns, lockdowns, everything else. And then the blue line is 2020, 2021 numbers. Green line is 18-19. So looking at May, we're up 83% from last year, which is no surprise and good news. It means that we're recovering well and right back where we would normally be. Any questions? Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Item 11, City Council discussion on proposed agenda items. Is there any proposed agenda items the council would like to bring before the council members would like to bring before the council?
I have two.
Okay.
I'd like to put on a future agenda of Austin School,
Okay.
and the next one is future agenda on East Mount Cemetery.
Okay.
Discussion.
Okay.
And Mayor, if we could, based on some of the comments made tonight by the citizens, maybe we could ask staff to do a presentation sometime within the next two meetings of how paver is actually working and how they are using it to select the roads that they're selecting.
Okay.
Be a good one.
Are there any other recommendations?
Yeah, I think in a future meeting, maybe, it's not urgent, of course, but I think we need to bring back up the issue of our standards for cups for liquor stores.
Okay. Okay. Are there any others? If there are no other suggestions, I ask that we put on the agenda the location of future council, city council meetings. Did you have some public testimony on one of these items, Mr.? You do? Okay, well, come forward, please.
John Kelso, 6005 Horn Drive, Greenville 75402. I wish two of you would ask, I'm begging you, would two of you please ask for a report to look at the philosophy of how do we pay for streets that are torn up by the water and sewer department? How are they getting repaired? Because I'm telling you, I promise you, Public Works is tearing up streets faster than the street department can keep up with repairing them. And so if that's you just need to figure out the philosophy. You got to fix that. That's an issue that needs to be addressed and fixed. If it's because the street department is paying for it and they don't have money to pay for it, you need to fix that. The water department needs to put it in with the fees of the water and sewer fees so that the water department could pay for that. But you don't know how it's done. I don't know how it's done. We don't, any of us know how it's done. Put it on an agenda, discuss it, have a report, make the administration tell you, here's what happens when there's a broken street or whatever. But until you understand it, you can't fix it. And so I don't think you understand it. I don't think anybody knows who pays for it, and if it's not working. So whoever is paying for it, it's not working. It's an issue that needs to be addressed. Needs to be addressed on an agenda. The only way to get it on an agenda is a couple of you asked to put it on an agenda. I'm begging you, please do that, because it's the only way you're going to get the streets repaired is to just do it. Thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Kelso. Is there any other public testimony? If not, we'll move to item 11A, which is location of future city council meetings. I placed this on the agenda last time, or suggested for the agenda last time. I'd like to discuss going back to City Hall and the city council chamber. I think it's more convenient for the staff to some extent. I don't think it's that crowded that we couldn't go back there. And at some point in the future, I'd like to do that. I think the acoustics here aren't quite what they need to be. And I think it would just be beneficial to get back to City Hall for those meetings, but it's certainly up to the council. So that's the reason I brought it to your attention. Is there any other comment?
I agree 100%. I think it's time to go back down to the chambers.
Okay.
I agree.
Kristen, did you want to say something?
No, I just can't wait to go back to chambers.
Oh, okay. Okay. Mr. Collins, did you? Oh, you did or didn't?
I was just.
Oh, okay. Okay. Any other comments? If not, I think at least 4 of us have expressed a desire to do that. And if there are no objections or any other comments, I'll suggest that we do that effective the next meeting on July the 13th. Well, matter of fact, if we can, for the special meeting on June 29th. I'd like to do it if that's possible. City staff can decide that and post that in the agenda. But if it's possible to do it on the June 29th meeting, I would like to do it at that time also. Okay, are there any other items to come before the council for special discussion items or agenda items? Anything else?
Mayor, real quick, could I ask that in the presentation on how paver works, it may be, seeing as how streets and that everything comes under public works, that the director could touch on how he budgets those repairs? Thank you.
Okay. You have the Board of Development, item 12, you have the Greenville Board of Development minutes for May 18th, 2021. Are there any questions or comments on those? Have those before you? If not, we will go into executive session under section, item A, section 551.071, paragraphs 1 and 2, and section 551.074, item 1. And we do not anticipate a vote after when we come out of executive session. Thank you for coming.
The recipe for great food is simple. Make it fresh. Wings to go in Greenville, where every order is a custom order made with fresh ingredients. Wings to go, 7818 Wesley Street in Greenville. Simply great wings.
Need a part for the right price? Look for that red and blue sign. Henley Auto Supply at 1510 Stonewall. Over 800,000 CarQuest parts to choose from. Domestic, European, and Asian parts. Henley Auto Supply at 903-455-1969. 455-1969. Henley Auto Supply has the right parts to keep your vehicle running. And backed by the best hometown service. Henley Auto Supply. Great people, great products, great prices. Henley Auto Supply and CarQuest.